Rolling, rolling, rolling.
No, I got Limp Bizkit in my head.
Rawhide.
Hey, all the kids are listening to Limp Bizkit.
Kid Rock's listening to Limp Bizkit.
Are we rolling?
Okay, here we go. Welcome to the lounge. I'm Mark Fawcett.
I'm Shane Johnsen.
And on today's show, we are going to be reviewing the top 5+1 FreeRide snowboards. That was a big pause there.
That's fine. The +1's a big deal. We have to do the +1. There's many reasons for that. Maybe we should do top 10s. Anyway, FreeRide snowboards. So we're throwing around terminology all the time. We're labeling things, blah, blah, blah. What do we consider a FreeRide snowboard?
All right, couple factors that I really differentiate an all-mountain snowboard from a FreeRide snowboard. In freeriding, we're usually riding a little faster.
Yep.
We're usually riding either backcountry, so looking for powder conditions.
Off-piste.
Off-piste, or on-piste, nice snow where you're like high-speed carving and such. When it comes to air, it's usually drop or step downs, versus
straight airs,
jumps,
not
straight
usually
airs,
inverted or spinning. Much
can be,
okay.
But for the most part, it's it's a little bit more like full throttle survival. You're not attempting tricks or doing things that you only land half the time because the speed is elevated usually, or the terrain is severe or more severe. So that's what we call FreeRide. Some folks on their websites, some of the brands indicate it more to be backcountry.
Yes.
We don't always want to say that you need the gnarliest board. It doesn't necessarily need to be super stiff or what have you to ride in backcountry conditions. But FreeRide boards are usually, again, elevated speed, a little bit more severe terrain, more focused a little bit on tourney, very often more directional than
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, often. There's sometimes there's an age minimum.
Yeah. Well, not necessarily. Not necessarily an age minimum by any means.
It does lend you to, I just can think of our own journey through snowboarding. The freeriding did kind of begin more around the time I turned 25 and was a little less, we were jibbing when we were 18. We were doing different style of snowboarding. Freestyle.
I always liked going fast.
Oh yeah, you're kind of a different monster here. But the freestyle element trickles out a little bit when we start talking about freeride, and I mean real freestyle, like legit freestyle. Yeah. So that just sort of helps you. I hate all these labels we do, but we've got to somehow get the train on the tracks to talk about these things. So Fozzie, that was a great
so that's FreeRide.
And you don't have to be 25 and up. I was kidding, but it tends to anyway. It leads itself that way.
So our top 5+1. Let's begin.
Here we go.
Burton Grillmaster. So this was a board that
was this in ours last year?
It was an honorable mention, I think, or no? There was only no. It did not. It was not in. It was brand new last year, and we didn't get it on it the year before. We didn't get to test the prototypes.
Well, we did have Sollors in, and we really did get to deep dive this board with one of the best in the biz, Mark Sollors, which was killer. There's no question.
So my first day on it, I was matching it up against some prominent other boards in this category on one of the very best days, like a premium day at BALDFACE Valhalla, premium day. And I kept going back to this, and I finished my last 3 runs. Out of 8 runs, I did most of them on this because I just couldn't get enough.
Yeah. Profile on this guy?
Pretty basic profile, but for me, the standout achievement in this board, 2 things. The core profiling or the flex.
Yep.
And the lightweight. It's light.
It is so light.
It's crazy light. But between those 2 factors, which are huge in what you're going to like, especially in powder, this board just kicked ass.
Yeah, so the profile reverse up here, and you're gonna again see a lot of this with this category.
And a very classic nose shape.
Yeah.
Super, so what
Love
it
it
does, it
there.
makes it really forgiving. And then this is actually a very classic tail shape. I mean, this is almost Craig-esque with the square tail, which I love. Again, I love stomping that back foot down in the pow, and it's super stable that way and predictable.
So we're reverse, then we're cambered, and then we just exit like a standard tail, really.
Yep.
It's pretty standard profile to what is currently out there, and especially in FreeRide, because why do we want reverse up front? It's gonna help you smash pow that easy, but it also helps you transition onto edge.
Yeah, it's a really clean rollover onto edge for
man.
sure.
A lot of taper in this one.
A lot of tape. Well, you know, it's funny. You look at the specs on this, and it's very reminiscent of a certain board that we're familiar with.
Yes.
That we made
we
22
did design
on.
a board.
With Burton.
Yep. There's 22 floating around to the crow's nest. Might be 24 actually. So
Yeah.
if you have one,
And you want something similar.
this is
This
actually
is pretty
kinda
dang close.
It really
in
is.
side cut, in taper, and in width.
Yeah.
This is one of the other things I liked about it. Definitely for Burton in particular, on the wider side, standard on the wider side. They have way more sizes this year than they did in the past.
So now we have a 40, 45, a 50, a 155, a 160, a 165, and a 155 wide.
And that's the one that a
That's-
lot of folks were using.
That's
The
very
55
cool,
wide,
actually,
a lot of people.
26.7 on the 55 wide. Fozzie, you rode the 60, right?
Yep.
Which is 26.4. So that
Yep.
60 is lending itself into the wider category.
It's kind of
anyway.
lending
Yeah.
itself. And honestly, at 160, you should be above 26.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So the Grill Master has some like classic Burton details that I love. Of course, I always talk about squeeze box core profiling and how much I like that. I think that was one of the reasons I liked it so much on that powder day versus just about anything else.
It's got the Superfly too, the same thing we used in the crow's nest.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
like this thing's crazy light for its size in particular. And a
Sintered.
WFO sintered base,
Yep.
so it cruises fast. Yeah, there wasn't anything I didn't like about this board. Crushed groomers too. It's not crazy stiff, so it's supportive. I like the supportive in length. That's why I chose the 160 as well instead of going down to the 55. I could use the 55 wide, no problem. Sure, I'd love it, but I like that little bit of extra length. Very easy to pedal, so it's extremely nimble, just with like foot steering. It's not psycho aggressive stiff.
Oh, and this one is, again, like we're talking FreeRide, but this could be a daily driver all year. There's no question.
Easily daily
This is
driver.
kind of as they marketed it a little bit too, as a dad board.
It's what Grillo wanted to do. He just
Yeah,
wanted an
yeah.
easy riding board, and then it ended up they came out with it, and everyone's like, even though it's easy to ride, it's crazy high performance. Like it's
But
high performing.
this longer nose, really, that's why we shifted it to this category
Yep.
too. You know, ride it back seat. I rode the 60 as well because I just can't ride a 5.5. I can't wrap my head around it.
You
half
can
the
ride
time.
this thing psycho backseat if you want
Yeah.
because of the channel. But
Exactly.
yeah,
No, there's a no-brainer for starting out this category.
Easy one, Grill Master.
All right, on to number 2. So we don't have a transition finder in stock right now, but this as a FreeRide snowboard it's a no-brainer. Upstairs, I sell, let's just say, a lot of these, and it is to that style of rider. It's the guy at Whitewater or your Mount Baker or Mount like Jackson Hole, mountains that are getting heavy snowfall. You're often in POW. It's got a really, really wide nose on it. Again, one of those boards you get back seat. And this one was overhauled. I'm just looking up a few of the specs here, but when it first came out, it was quite tapered, and they've actually widened the tail a little bit, which I like. So again, when you're exiting that turn, there's just a little more stability there. It's a stiff tail, real stiff tail on the T-Finder, but just stable. This
Yep.
thing is a monster. It also comes in a split, which we'll review down the road. But it's one of those boards where from Karua, that if I was to pick the FreeRide, I mean that's the model.
That's the one I'd pick
That's
as
the
well.
model.
And they actually have it in a plus.
Yes. Yep.
So in the plus, it's a different construction, crazy fast, like basically a graphite sintered race base on it. You're gonna pay a little bit more of a premium for it, but the plus is pretty cool. Believe the the Transition Finder Plus is now with Titanol in it.
Yeah,
The metal,
yeah, I think so.
and
Yep.
so that adds like a whole new level of like torsional stiffness compared to how soft it is still linearly. Really makes it aggressive turner.
All right, so they've added extra sizing this year. I can't remember which way. I think the 50 might be the new one. They've always had a 54, 57.
No, the 60
might be the new one. Yeah.
The 60's the
Yeah.
new one.
But again,
Yeah.
I just love to see that they're expanding the size range of this board. A few of the gals upstairs ride it, and yeah, really, really good to see. I just wanted to pull up the waist width because this segment of Karua, they're wide. Like the 5.7 that I've ridden a fair bit, 26.8. So it's
That's
his magic waist size, but actually me in an 8, I don't have an issue riding that board. I really don't.
No.
Morrison is a 7.5, a 7 even, Mark? 7. And he rides that one. So you don't have to worry so much about that. Karua is an anomaly that way where your foot size, they've nailed the side cut radius with these boards, and upper leverage, your height is going to matter a little more than your foot size in this instance, for sure.
And a lot of that's construction too, and just how they finish the boards. I think there's a little bit more base bevel on them, so they roll really easy. Super easy rolling. You never get that like planky feeling that you do on some boards, particularly if you get a really bad grind somewhere and they don't bevel your edges, like really sticky. So they come out of the factory like really user friendly.
This one has the float camber, which is similar to what we've already reviewed, where again, reverse in the front, camber from basically the bindings back. And you're gonna see a lot of that, but worth noting on that one. Side cut radii too, I just wanted to check that because it's always, oh, they don't, oh yeah, 8.2. So that would make sense too, why?
They're actually, where the side cut is, in that side cut effective world is pretty short, so that gives you a chord depth that's pretty standard.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
8.2 doesn't seem so crazy.
There's a lot of nose on this board.
Yeah, exactly.
And we say non-effective, like on the groomers, it's a little less effective. In the powder, there's a lot more effective edge when you roll it over that way. Shorter tail, they say switch,
Well,
it's okay at it.
And we're not looking
compared to the
switch
bullet
with a lot of
train.
these. Well, yeah.
Which is like dead flat. So you can. I've seen people do some cool freestyle action on them.
And this falls into.
I know people that run that as a daily driver.
Oh yeah.
Well, especially here at Whitewater.
Because of where we live, of course.
Yeah.
This also falls into, like we'll see with a lot of these. This has 18 mils of taper, which
It's out of all our FreeRide boards, I think it's got the most taper.
It might have the most taper of all of them. Yeah. So no brainer there. Karua Transition Finder. On to number 3. This one is very, very, very dear to me. I mean, Drew's artwork for one is just mental.
I was just trying to figure it out.
Oh,
I think I need more gummies.
He killed it on this board. It's incredible. The Rocket, this is a redesigned shape too, and this one blew my mind. 5.7.5 I got to ride, and on a POW day, this, I'm pretty damn sure I'm grabbing this board. It is, I might go a little longer though, the 6.1 like we have here, but start off, you just look at the shape of that. It's got these little wingers in the back end. Profile again is similar to what all of these boards are. We have, and this is actually a little more unique to Lib because Lib is usually either C2 or C3.
Yeah.
This is kind of what that transition finder was.
This is a directional camber. They actually call it, they usually have a name for it, and it's early rise directional camber.
Yeah.
That's all they call it.
Which is kind of rare for
Lib.
these
guys, I would say their early rise is a little different and a little bit more progressive and aggressive than some of the others. So it does start further back, and it lifts off a bit, but then it really starts to lift off here a bit more. It's pretty interesting. It's a really clean line. It's a really clean line, and it just gets up on top of the POW so easily. I actually really like that nose shape too. So that's similar to what I've done in the past, very recent past.
Which is probably why I love this thing so much
custom
too.
Boards. And similarly, I love the wingers, so you keep a longer line here.
Exactly.
But then being able to get in and get rid of some volume back here in some way.
They settle down better that way, especially when it's deep. You get right back on this board, it just settles.
And if you did the quick radius from here to here, you lose some of that like effective in the powder. So this way they've enabled both with a winger. You have a long effective when you're pushing on the actual edge, and then when you want to sink it down in here, you got a reduced volume.
Flex, they're calling it a 6.5, and
I'd concur with that. It's not crazy stiff. So
but they are a little wider than I expected, but rode amazing for that. I just wanted to point out, like the 5.7.5 was a 26.4.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I mean, you look at like what they do with like the GNU Gremlin and stuff. It's 26.5 at the similar. So like
this one is 26.5 and 6.1.
Lib Mervin, like they're pretty into some wider stuff now, which I think's great.
Always, yeah.
And then in conjunction with the with how easy they are to like sort of foot steer and the construction, they roll really well. So I've not had any trouble with a 26.5 in the whole Mervin universe.
Yeah. No, Matt's done a great job in redesigning this shape. Like they're calling it the Rocket Redo, and I mean, kudos, nailed it on this. This board is a lot of fun. I was just going to look up the specs of the base too, because you don't. Mervin is often pretty busy bases, and this looks like a nice
clean,
graphite.
This looks like what they usually put on the GNUs. But I think
it's the Bank Country comes
yeah,
with,
I
right?
think it might even be a graphite sintered, which would mean it's pretty much a race base.
Just trying to dig it up here, but I would think so, yeah. Sintered knife cut base, yeah, and that's the plus base. So that is the premium.
So this thing will haul.
And like most libs, you've got your internal birch sidewalls. It's hard to say sometimes, but it's bomb proof. It bites. You notice that, but they just with what I always call the golf ball skin. Golf ball skin is UHMW throughout.
Yeah.
But it kind of is like a golf ball. You know how you smash a golf ball? This is that durable. And then you
on the sidewalls. Yeah.
Build that birch up behind it. Really, really bomber. Really bomb.
I mean, the other thing about when you get it on the groomers, when we talk about that, all the Mervin boards are super damp. Just the way they use their resin and.
No, they have a vibe to them. Like Mervin boards have a vibe to them.
Like people come upstairs and they ask, okay, like I want damp, I don't want a buzzy. Take one of these. And
in POW, I just appreciate it a lot in POW. There's nothing twitchy about this. It's just stable, stable, stable. Again, kudos, Matt. Like just crazy good design. Love the board.
Yeah, yeah. This outline, I think it's my favorite outline in the.
Yeah, that was an easy
in the top
pick.
five as far as the
year.
silhouette goes. That's my favorite outline shape of the bunch.
Yep, hands down. All right, we're on to number 4. So Yes has gone through a rebrand this year, which is super cool to see. Lobster, now Yes, all formed together to become Yes, which is makes a lot of sense actually. But year after year, we've been so lucky to have DCP on the show. What that man designs for free riding is always on point. I think it has made our top every single year, and the uninked DCP Extreme is now. I like to see that they brought Extreme back. Remember when Craig had the Extreme?
Yeah,
So rad.
Yeah,
so,
it's super cool.
Anyway, David, again, killed it. There's no question. We don't have one yet. We're waiting for those boards to show up, but Morrison will drop it in here with all the specs that we do. No-brainer. I mean, always. Underbite, same profile we're talking about.
Underbite's like kind of out of this entire
That's the one
range.
Unique thing that
it's really unique, and it works. So
Absolutely. By
removing some of the material in the silhouette, in the outline, where you normally get all loaded up right at your toes and heels, and you feel the board so much right under your bindings. That section is actually like cut out,
it really
and
is.
It distributes the pressure through the rest of the edge everywhere else really well. Yeah. Big thing about this board, and like through the ages, he's built it for handling speed well, for handling, I don't want to say it's necessarily for bigger riders, but out of all the boards, when I really try and dive into a heel turn on super good groomers, I can taco pretty much anything.
Yeah,
fold it up. Yeah. I can't do it on this.
Yeah, this is a lot of board for me a lot of the time, being lighter.
I loved it. And that doesn't mean I had a hard time on it. Like I could do everything with that board, but when I really wanted to lay down the law, that was this board for me. And I've picked it before as this would be the board if I had to have one board for the rest of my life. Last year I was like, I'm taking the DCP. I'm taking the pick your line.
Yeah, absolutely. Profile is again similar, but David does it a little different. We have a visual of it here, which really shows it well. But it's
a small section of camber.
Yeah,
it's a really small
reverse,
section of camber.
Flat and then camber.
Yep.
And then flat.
Flat, and then.
So it's
early rise.
It makes a lot of sense. A lot of edge bite through that, but in the POW is where you notice that too. It's just that's what gives it that surfy vibe.
Yep. And then the outline, like nice big shovelly nose,
the nose
which I
is
love.
amazing on it. I'm sure it's showing up somewhere here. They're on the way. They'll be on the website soon. But no brainer. DCP.
And graphic. He had a really sweet story. It was on Instagram this morning. Him describing his wolf pack and sort of talking about how like the snowboard community is this wolf pack and we all do this because we love it and such. And then of course, he's like a real family man and it's like him and Megs and the two pups, his two kids. Really, really cute little Instagram post on that.
Yeah, go check that out, guys, as well as they drop some posts about the new collab between the brands, which is super cool to check out. So yeah, no brainer. Again, David, you always design killer snowboards. So that was number 4. The Pick Your Line Unink Extreme. Now on to 5.
All right, number 5, part of the set.
So I've told the story many times, but Worm, my favorite snowboarder, he's
a character.
He really is a character. We were lucky enough. He was employed by us for a season, worked at the shop. It was great to have him in there. The kids would come in and just be like, what? Worm works here? But he really got me back into, I did have this as a split board for a long time, but I wasn't riding the solid, so to speak. But last year, he was bugging me. Go watch his footage. I'm sure I'll tag something below in the comments. The way he rides this board completely changed my perception of what you could do on this thing.
Yeah, 100%. And Jeremy even. Jeremy was one of the first guys. He's like, see what Worm's doing on my board?
Yeah, he takes the hovercraft to another level. But this is, again, this could be your daily driver, no problem.
A lot of people, it's a lot of people's daily driver.
It really is, yeah. But there's a freestyle element to this. There's a bank slalom element to this.
It's one baker
smasher. It is one baker.
Yeah, and it's won a border cross, not like maybe a World Cup, but someone won a decent level border cross on one.
So if they keep designing this, especially the 2.0 with the way they've done the tail, the way the tail hooks up now, stability is crazy, but this is just going to keep winning. This snowboard is amazing.
Yeah, it's one of the first sort of mass-produced volume shifted boards. He was really at the forefront of we can pack a lot of horsepower into a bit shorter of a board.
So this is where I do ride a 56.
Yeah.
This is the one time where
it's designed that way.
Oh yeah, where this 56 rides like a 60.
Yeah, and they design it that way with width, with the flex pattern. There's actually a surprising amount of even though there's a lot of early rise and a lot of nose on it, a lot of this nose, even though it's lifting off, once rolled over, it becomes effective. Mm-hmm. So it rides bigger. It's one of those weird ones that rides bigger than it looks or than its length. Of course, it's got some really cool features to this. There are elements of recycled snowboards in here.
So please look into this. We won't go too deep, but this is so cool, and you can actually see it in there where they're using some of it. So rad that they're doing.
Super cool.
So
and they're not using a part of the board or anything that's weakened or such.
No.
It's solid stuff. They use it
core.
And they use it vertically, which makes it stronger as well. And they're putting it in a section where it needs a little bit more stiffness. So pretty sweet overall. Good base. Jeremy does a lot of, there's no waste in these boards. So if it's a die cut, some of the die cuts will be gray with white or white with gray. So when he does die cuts, they make an even number of boards. There's no waste. There's nothing left on the floor. A lot of spoon in this one. A lot of spoon in this nose. So it's really easy to roll over. We'll call it surfy. We'll talk about
Oh yeah, that board's
what
surfy.
that surfy is. This board's really
This
surfy.
board's really surfy. And
Channels in the back are new. They're pretty subtle. They don't grab like, I mean, if anyone's ever ridden fins on a snowboard like I have back in the
so
day,
much like
they
that,
don't do that.
but things won't wander, if that
Yeah,
makes
it won't.
sense.
It won't.
It does lock you in.
You
to a
can
certain
kind of
degree.
feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not radical. It's nothing you have to like really even adapt to. You'll just be like, oh yeah, it's there. It's pretty cool. But
So we have
this is. I mean, this has been a staple for years. Definitely a fantastic FreeRide board.
Well, the updates are amazing.
yep.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sizes. So we go 144, 48, 52, 56, 60, and 64. And just for reference, the 60 is going to have a waist width of 26.7. So these are lending themselves to like that mid-volume underfoot.
Yep.
They're not narrow boards by any means. And then the 56, for example, is a 26.3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this would be the one time you and I'd probably be on the same size board.
Yeah.
I'd probably ride a 56 on this as like a.
Yeah, the 60's a lot. I've tried it, and it's a lot of snowboard underfoot. It really is.
So you can. This is one of the instances where, I mean, that was the whole concept back when he started it, was to downsize into it.
The side cut radii is straighter.
Yeah.
So this, like the 56 is a 9, 9.3 as we go up. So that also lends these boards to just feeling a bit longer.
Yep.
They really do.
Yep. They're super stable on edge because of that.
Yeah.
They have really clean lines, blending lines from side cut up into reverse. Again, because it's straighter, so there's less of a difference to curve from one way to the other. It was always a big thing for me was to go straighter side cuts. I still like kind of straight side cuts, except on the Kazoo.
But yeah, and I ride this pretty back seat. I like how stiff the tail is when you shorten that little section up by being way back there. That tail is, as you apex that turn, it's just stable. And if I was doing like bank slaloms, for sure, I would probably grab this in a 56. And then again, it's just one of those boards where it easily could be your quiver killer, no question.
And I think he has mellow mag.
Mellow mag throughout.
Really,
visually, I'm seeing it.
You can barely see it. If you were really aggressive, if you're a good snowboard tuner and you're really aggressive with a file, you could probably get rid of it. Like, that's how little's in there. But you can feel it on steep chalky snow. It bites. So if you're doing more extreme style stuff, getting yourself in hairy situations like Jeremy likes to, it'll hold in there for you.
And taper, similar to the rest of the boards we're talking about, this one has a 17 mm taper, which is what I would have expected.
Yep. Again, one of the transition finder would have a little tiny bit more. Yeah. So Jones Hovercraft 2.0.
On to the next one.
And last but not least, so I guess
Definitely not least.
I guess it's our +1, but what have you? Definitely not least is the black snowboard of death. And this has made our lists a few times
this was
at
tough.
least.
We were a little bit split because this was a tough one because the Mercury came up in this.
The Mercury came up on this one too.
And then the Aeronaut too.
And the Aeronaut. But this one seemed to be, if I put this more in the category almost of DCP's pick your line.
That's right, exactly.
This board is for
gotta be a pretty
heavy hitters.
Yeah.
It's for like higher speed. It's for bigger stuff, bigger drops. Handles the landing super well. What's funny is they developed this shape and the concept originally as a full-on freestyle board years and years ago, with the wapow and everything. And people got on it and they're like, "This thing's like a big mountain killer. This thing's amazing." So it has morphed into that. One of the key features to this black snowboard of death, for me personally anyway, is this ash top sheet. Yeah, it looks great. They're actually really durable, but beyond that, like, it adds a very high level of performance. Again, wood, especially when cut into these veneers, is Mother Nature's composite. Really damp for how much it adds to the board, how much liveliness it adds to the board. They're super damp, so damp and durable.
Yeah, durability on this. We have a few in our demo fleet, and I'm always blown away by 20 days in, and this board will
It
look
looks brand new still.
similar to this.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
But it
yeah.
also rides that way too. It keeps a lot of life. It's not just something to slap graphics on with, like a plastic top sheet. It actually adds to the flex and the liveliness of
And right
the board.
under that top sheet is the carbon fleece that they do too.
Yep.
So that's just keeping things again lively.
Yep.
Super lively with that.
What do they call it for the flex rating on this? It's
you're making me jump
Sorry,
around
I'm going to
now,
make you jump
Fawcett.
around. The
Let's see
Mercury and the Black Snowboard of Death are probably in their stiffer ranges.
6.5.
Yeah, I would say
They might call it
um,
6.5, and it might flex like that on their like testing machine.
Yeah, I always say Capita kind of under.
They would underdo it.
values their
this one would be,
stiffness ratings.
and it's not in any bad way, but like you can haul ass on this board. This would be another one that I can't really taco it if I really lay into a heel turn.
No, when I ride a 5.9 Black Snowboard to Death, I know I'm on a 5.9, and I actually have a 5.6 because of it, and that was my bank slalom board for quite a while. Yeah, again, just
I would ride
stiff.
the 5.9.
Yeah, this thing charges. It is the one, one of the few times I do kind of
And
go down a little
they
bit
make
lower.
it in a bunch of sizes. They make it in 4 wides, 3 standard and 4 wides, if I'm not correct.
Yeah, so for wides, we have a 57, a 61, a 65, and a 69 wide, which is awesome. We sell the 69 wide.
Yeah,
Like,
there's
that board
big
sells.
There's big humans that come in, and it works
yeah.
great for them. Yeah.
62 in standard, 5.9 and 5.6. And, for example, because we reference the 5.9s a lot, the waist width on that is 25.9. A 6.1 wide would be 26.7. So we're getting that extra centimeter underfoot, more foot volume. And then the side cut radii are in the 8. Again, we have a progressive side cut here, but we go from, say, 8.6, 8.2 to 8, exiting on an 8, which is that's really good radius, actually. That's going to give you a quick exit when you really load up and sit kind of a little more back seat on that board.
Did they get rid of the? There used to be a single
Death grip or whatever it was called.
And I don't know if it's still in there.
Is there?
It's there, but it's subtle.
It's so
I
subtle.
think it's subtle.
I think it is there, and it's again, if you were really
you that
crafty
little
with a
hook.
file, you could get it out of there. But what it does also, it just gives it like a kind of a pivot point. So it doesn't disturb the carvability at all. But when you want to like pivot this board around, it grabs a little, gives it a little bit more bite here in the middle, and makes it easy to pivot around essentially.
This thing, you can really control this board, but it is, again, it's one of those ones that just wants to go fast.
Well, yeah,
Snowboard wants
yeah.
to go
I mean,
fast.
that's my style, so that's why I really like this board. I usually find myself mounting this one back pretty far as well.
Yeah, there's 0 camber, and then it reverses out. So stiff, super stable, and same with me. I'm right in both back inserts on this board.
It's dead flat in this section here behind the
exactly, and then
behind
a
the
little bit of
bindings.
reverse and then to
Flat,
tail.
dead flat, and then blends in, and then the front's all early rise. They call it reverse camber, but it's like an early rise and then into Wapow.
Yeah.
And it works well on the powder. Like that front little bit, flatter actually like skims you up quick, like the Wapow, surprisingly, it like bumps you up onto a plane really quickly.
Well, it's a cool hybrid that it's similar to what DCP kind of had with his too. Just stable. That's the only way I can explain it. Anytime I'm on this one, it's just this board is stable, and that's why it was my bank slalom board for quite a while.
Yeah.
Like all Capitas, the tune is just premium. Like this one's just hitting the floor upstairs, and I grabbed it, and I was just like, Fawcett, the edges on this thing are
they're
so
sharp,
serious.
beautiful structured stone
Yeah.
ground base, which again is about a $100, $125 Canadian value.
Oh, yeah,
that
to get that
most
done,
companies, a lot of companies don't do that. So it's really nice that they come out of the factory ready to roll like that.
Big old bumper up front here, just for further protection. I like this because everyone's always biffing you in the lift line.
And the tail.
Yep. So it's on both ends, which is good. It's adding to that durability. It's the demos we have had. I mean, for value, this board holds up. It's it's up there. It's not Megadeth up there, but it's up there. But again, one of those everything they're thinking about here is adding to the durability as well as the performance of the board. And that structure, I mean, Capita's calling it, well, the whole tune is the Moonshot Omni tune, but the base material, yeah, hyperdrive bases, that's what it is. And again, I've been talking about this for a while, but these are fast. This is a fast snowboard. So there was a lot of back and forth between kind of three Capitas. We struggled. The Aeronaut is so awesome too, but this one, this found its rightful place, I think, this year.
I think so.
Yeah.
For FreeRide, for like
No
blasting
disrespect, Arthur. Your board's
that
amazing
board's
too.
Insane. It's insane. Yeah.
It was tough. Fawcett
That
said
board,
this.
the Aeronaut could have been in both.
In either categories.
Yeah, all
I mean,
mountain
and
or
you said this a
FreeRide.
while ago. It's hard for us to find a shitty snowboard lately. Like we have to. There's not a lot of bad snowboards out there.
There's almost no bad snowboard. We had a friend of ours who's one of the tech reps at Sun Peaks, and he
was trying to find
he
a bad one.
purposely was trying to go out and find one
Yeah.
where he's like, okay, this snowboard sucks, and he couldn't.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, but we're definitely finding the ones that are the absolute best out there, and I think, again, all these were well deserving. We have more on the way, obviously. We'll have the bindings coming up. We'll have the top boots coming up, as well as some more of the vlog series, too. I'll have the boys upstairs, and things are banging in the shop, so things are getting busy. And yeah, shout out to our sponsors, as always. Cole for supporting us. BALDFACE Lodge. Jeff, thanks so much again for supporting us into this next season. We have NBC Beer.
Yep.
We have
The Hotsauce.
James Brand Knives just jumped on board. Everyday Carry. This is Coulter. We're really stoked to be working with you guys. And we have the Hotsauce by Stu. Stoke the Fire. Anyway, thanks for hanging out with us, guys. Hope you're digging these episodes. We've got more on the way, so yeah, Fozzie.
Yeah, we appreciate your support. Please like and subscribe.